And the Alcohol Beverage Commission of Washington, D.C. may review a group's challenge to the Trump Hotel's liquor license. The commission blocking the Trump International Hotel's motion to dismiss the challenge made on the allegation that the president's character isn't good enough to sell alcohol at that hotel. Well, tomorrow is the Impeach Trump Day of Action. Activists will host nearly 150 events all over the country, hoping to force House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and other Democratic leaders into taking the position that impeachment right now is the only option. Let's debate it with Democratic strategist Kevin Walling and host of the Chris Plante radio show, Chris Plante, who was already chuckling about the last story about the president's character is not good enough to be selling alcohol at the Trump Hotel. Okay, let's start with this. Eugene Robinson obviously writes with the Washington Post under the headline, "On impeachment, Pelosi has to pick her poison," writes this. Pelosi clearly believes impeachment is a political trap, and she may be right. But doing nothing looks increasingly like a political trap, too. She believes that Trump is trying to bait her into impeachment. I think he's trying to bluff her out of it. I don't think he wants the historical stigma that would mar his presidency or the greater power it would give Congress to compel testimony or documents. Chris.
Wow. I mean, honestly, they're all caught up in their own thing, twisted around their own axle. They can't decide whether they must impeach or must not impeach. And really, in the end, it's all about the welfare of the party. It's not about the country, right? It's not about getting anything through Congress for the American people. This is all just Washington stuff. This is what everyone despises about Washington, D.C., as to impeach or not to impeach. And what are the considerations? The considerations are not whether a crime or misdemeanor was committed. It's whether it's good for the Democratic Party leading up to the 2020 election.
Yeah, going into the 2020 election, they do have to make these calculations. And so I want to put this Quinnipiac poll. Do you think Congress should begin the process to impeach the president or not? 33% said yes, they think they should. 61%, that's almost double, say they don't think they should. Yeah. And unsure is about 6%. I mean, Kevin, they have to take those things into consideration when they decide whether to launch this, which is something that could be very divisive to the country and certainly impact the 2020 election.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Shannon. It is a divisive issue, impeachment, of course. But you have this energy on the left, 150 in-person events around the country tomorrow to put pressure on Congress to do their job. I disagree a little bit with Chris. I think it's not an allegiance to party, but an allegiance to country and a matter of holding this president accountable, right, and getting the facts out. The Mueller report laid out 10 instances of obstruction of justice that we need to investigate. And again, multiple DAs, multiple federal prosecutors have said if this man was not the president of the United States, he would be prosecuted in a court of law. Well,
and there's been some dispute on whether or not that would be the case. I mean, the Attorney General has said he had these conversations with Mueller and his team, and they said it wasn't about this Justice Department policy that you can't indict a sitting president. And then it seems like Mueller's suggesting that might have had something to do with it. That aside, I want to play something from Congressman Steve Cohen, a Democrat out of Tennessee, about what this would really be about if they move forward.
I think impeachment proceedings will help see that he's beaten, but that's not the reason to do it. I think we have a moral imperative to bring those charges, and the House at least stand up and do its responsibility, even if the Senate won't. I think we'll see blood on our hands.
All right, Chris, he says it's not about politics. It's a moral imperative.
Yeah, he's the one who brought the rubber chicken to Congress and the bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken, and he's lecturing the country about the moral imperative of impeaching the president over something that has been litigated. It wasn't about the Justice Department policy that's made clear in Attorney General Barr's 4-page letter to Congress. He said that this was made without regard to the policy and without regard to the constitutional issues surrounding charging a president. This is all theater. It's all get Trump. It's all, gosh, we lost the election. We really thought Hillary was going to win. We thought we were going to get him on the Russian collusion thing. And they just keep coming up with the next thing. And honestly, if I can just mention these rallies across the country tomorrow, this is as a result of too many community organizers in the United States of America stood up during the Obama years. They've got to prove their worth, so they gin up the latest protest outrage. And the word that they keep using is outrage. You know, 1969, the radical left in Chicago gave us the days of rage, the Weather Underground, and so on. Now the Democrat Party demands years of rage from their followers, from their voters, their devotees. And I don't know how long they can sustain this, but this must be exhausting to be a liberal these days.
Well, as Kevin said, I mean, there's a lot of energy there, but apparently some folks like Chris Matthews don't think it's being organized and used well enough. Here's what he says about Democrats.
I see one after Democrat leading committee chairs all come out with outrage. And 2 days later, the story's forgotten. Trump's home free. He's having dinner and his hamburgers up at the White House, enjoying life with Melania and laughing at you guys because nobody actually does anything. You won't impeach?
A lot of frustration, Kevin, from a lot of folks within the left and the mainstream media that this impeachment thing isn't happening.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, to Chris's point, I think our country was founded on a protest rally in Boston, right? So that brings out the best in this country in terms of these protests and this energy. But it is a balancing act for this speaker. She is wise. She knows her caucus. She knows this country. The president has a base of about 35% that are always with him. 33% right now in this poll that you mentioned are for impeachment. So it's a matter of that middle ground, right? The folks that are with the president, the folks that are for impeachment, and how do we reach those folks in the middle?
Well, we'll see how tomorrow goes down. I know we'll all be watching.
The fact that they talk about the polls on impeachment proves that it's not a moral imperative. It's a political issue, pure and simple.
It's both.
I mean,
yeah,
honestly,
and there's a lot of emotion on every side of this thing. So we'll watch as we get to see some of it in the streets tomorrow.
Let's keep it dialed up, why don't we?
Chris and Kevin, thank you very much.
Thanks, Shannon.
All right.